Welcome to another Better Place Australia podcast. What do you do when serious health complications affect your ability to pay back a significant personal loan? Christine is the Financial Counselling Team Leader for Better Place Australia and Financial First Aid, and she shares Sue's story.
Sue was a career nurse and she had recently taken out a loan, just a standard credit arrangement, because she had some previous debt. So she used this loan to consolidate the debt. And everything was going fine. Her work was fine. But then she suffered a serious medical event, which actually progressed to the point where she needed a double lung transplant. And therefore, she was unable to work, unable to pay the debt. So that's where we came in to assist, was at that point when she was unable to service the debt.
So what steps did you take her through? Because it's always risky, isn't it, to take out a loan to pay off other loans and debts?
Yeah, I very rarely think that's a good idea. There are other things I'd rather pursue first. But her case was now she can't afford the loan. So, and the loan was fairly new, even though the debt that she had repaid with this loan was some years outstanding. The new debt that she got was fairly recent. So therefore, the creditor is now concerned that this is a new loan and now suddenly she can't pay it. So, well, it has taken quite a while to work with that creditor to continue to provide the medical evidence, to provide financial evidence, and to get them to realise that whilst it was a fairly new loan, this was an unforeseen circumstance that arose.
Yeah.
Sometimes when the loan is perhaps older and there's more history, a creditor may consider this situation and end the matter with a debt waiver earlier. But because it was a newer loan, they were prepared to sit on it for a little longer to see if there was a return to work plan. And initially, after the surgery, it did go well. There was then a return to work plan, but there were then complications, and suddenly the return to work plan was completely off the table. These were serious complications that required further interventions like procedures. So again, it was just continually updating the creditor on her situation, financial situation. But eventually the creditor has come to accept that this person is not going to return to work and the debt is not going to be repaid. So their options is to either pursue some sort of legal avenue or just grant a compassionate debt waiver. And that's eventually what they've done.
Is that common for lenders to waive a debt and not just reduce the debt so they can recoup at least some of the money?
Oh, look, it does. That's a vexed question because it does depend entirely on the circumstance of the person we're dealing with. If we can demonstrate that there is little to gain from legal action, that there is little chance of recovery, that it might be a smarter decision to just let the debt go rather than pursue it,
Yeah.
then yes, debt waivers are achievable. But it also, sometimes people think maybe I can get a debt waiver, but again, we have to look very closely at the circumstances. There has to be a rationale behind it.
Yeah.
What it's done, though, is what is the outcome of this? I mean, it's provided enormous relief for our client, Sue, and it means that she can focus on her recovery. She doesn't have to deal with the phone calls, the letters, the contact. And it's also ended this, as a commercial decision for the lender. It's meant that they've settled that account, it's closed, they can move on to other things. So
Yeah.
it just provides that clear air for everybody.
Was it a large amount of money? Are you able to share that, or is that confidential?
It was well, Sue's a pseudonym, so it doesn't really matter. But it was around about 40,000.
Okay, that's considerable. So she would have a lot more peace. And is her health on track, or is it going to be something that she will continue to struggle with?
Well, from what I understand, I think it's something she's going to be continually battling with. It's now she's going to be receiving a disability support pension, and
Right.
there is no return to work plan.
Yeah, wow. Wow, that's a tough situation. So she would have been very grateful that you were able to mediate for her.
Yes, yes. And that's one of our really strong points in our role, is that often when people are in a very vulnerable position, whether it's health-wise, mental health-wise, relationship, we can provide that link between them and their creditor, and it just takes the heat out of the situation.
Great. That's Christine, Financial Counselling Team Leader for Better Place Australia and Financial First Aid. You can access free financial counselling from Better Place Australia if you live in a funded area in Melbourne or Geelong. Now, there's a long list of suburbs that applies to, so to find out if you live in a funded area, visit the Better Place Australia website or the Financial First Aid website and do a search for funded areas. Financial First Aid is an initiative of Better Place Australia.